Hi everyone. I thought I'd pop on to the computer as I felt it was time for an update. That's an understatement. And lots of people have been asking me for an update. So I've been gathering my thoughts over the last few days, communicating with the nine. And I wanted to be fairly focused in what I was seeing before I came on to talk to you. So I'm just going to minimize the screen so I haven't got my face looking at me the whole time while I'm talking to you. That's better. So yes, obviously I'm here to talk about the situation in the US and Mr. Tea Tree. So regarding code, I think it's very important right now to ramp the code up, if you know what I mean, due to the situation. So I will be doing that today. So I'd like to just say, as anyone who follows me knows, that I'm writing a novel and everything I discuss in this video is all information about my novel. I'm basically talking to you about the plot line, the characters, how I see the story going, and then obviously you connect with me and you assist me by giving me your perspectives. So this is a fictional video made to talk about my fictional novel. Any relation to characters in real life, to any people who are living or who have died, is purely coincidental. So that's out of the way. Secondly, I have a gentleman in the garden, a builder, fixing my fences because they blew down in the terrible gale force winds here in the UK about 3 weeks or so ago. So you might hear some drilling, some banging, maybe the radio, the builder's got the radio on, but he's going to be there all day and I didn't want to wait to do this video. So if you hear any strange noises in the background, it's not demonic entities, it is the builder fixing my fences. Right, okay, so I've taken some notes. I don't usually, but I have this time because I've got a lot to get through. First thing I wanted to say was, before Christmas, I think it was about a week before Christmas, the nine had said to me there will be a Christmas surprise. I don't think I released this in a video, to be honest with you. I definitely did release this on YouTube, on social media, but I don't think I put this out in a video. But obviously since Christmas, sort of nothing's happened, if you will. So people have been writing to me saying, what's the Christmas surprise? What was the Christmas surprise? So I asked the nine, what was the Christmas surprise? And they said it's something occurring behind the scenes. It was absolutely connected to Mr. Tea Tree, and that it would come out at some point. So they didn't tell me what it was, but obviously it was something within this huge situation that's going on behind the scenes, and that has been going on behind the scenes for a long time, that is, if you will, getting ready to show itself to us. But I recently have heard a couple of other people in the truth community, one being Simon Parks, and a couple of other people, I think maybe Charlie W also said something similar, and that is that some information was actually made available to the good guys, the team of light, if you will, around Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. Information was made available. I don't need to go into what that information is, because you can get that information out in the truth community and from the two people I have mentioned. Go and listen to both of them and their recent updates if you want to know more about that. All I know is that the Christmas surprise, according to the nine, was something that was going on behind the scenes that would eventually come to the fore. And they actually said it was a crucial and very important part of the whole structure as it pieced everything together. So I'm just going to briefly mention that, as I'd had a lot of people asking me what the Christmas surprise was. Okay, so moving on from that, I'd like to go back into the overall picture of Mr. Tea Tree and continue with things that I've been talking to you about before over the last few months and everything that I've seen regarding the American competition. So what I would say is, since I last spoke to you, the timelines have not changed, but shifted. This is not a bad thing. It is a positive, good thing. But if I explain to you what I mean, so when it comes to the overall blueprint of what's occurring, I mean from a psychic point of view. As a psychic, when you look at potentials and probabilities, it will depend on the way that you are working. Some psychics work with the higher third and the fourth dimension. So they will be looking at timelines, and they may only see the most probable timeline and not the others. Or they may just see a very basic presentation, which is that the sort of first layer of reality, if you will, or possibly the first couple of layers of reality. There are multiple layers when you look psychically, and some of these layers are false screens, and the first layer of reality contains these false screens. So what I'm talking about is, say you're a psychic and you're looking forward into the American competition, and you see Mr. B is going to win, and you're seeing something genuine, and you are psychic. Well, you would be correct, because what you would have seen is what's happened. So you're looking at the false screen and the first layer. It's not incorrect. It's just that you haven't gone deeper, and it may be that your job is not to go deeper. Your role may be that you are a sort of a surface level psychic, if you will, looking at the most probable timeline only, and those first layers, or that first layer and that false screen. It's important that we have multiple different pictures given to us as a seeker. But there is so much more to being psychic, if you will, and it's not really even about being psychic. What the nines say is that it's about expanding the awareness of self and looking at the most likely probability of anything that is likely to occur based on the consciousness of either yourself or the person that you are reading for, or the collective of humanity, or the planet, or the galaxy, wherever you want to go. So being psychic is simply expanding awareness. It's another way of saying it. So looking forward, what you will actually see is a convergence structure, as I've spoken about before. So these are not, especially now, in 2020 and 2021 and going forward, because we're coming right into the core of the convergence. We're getting to the central point of the convergence. And that presentation of what can be seen within the higher realms, if you will, or the Akashic records, based on the consciousness of humanity and of Earth, that is mirroring the galactic movements also, and the movements of our planet. So it's all one, it's all occurring at the same time. I've spoken about this before. So what you will see is a convergent structure of multiple timelines, all interwoven together, all merging with one another. And so as a psychic, as a seer, as a channel, whatever you want, name you want to give to what you are, what you're doing, it's simply an expanded, awakened individual. What you need to do is look at this structure and work out what is the most probable out of all of these. And that structure sort of stays in a formation so that you can see, but when things happen, that whole structure can shift. It's like a matrix. It's like the matrix around you, a large auric field of the galaxy, if you will, or of the planet, or of humanity's consciousness. So this structure of looking at potentials in the future, looking at timelines, and in the past, and in the quantum realms, this structure is a living structure. It's living consciousness. It's consciousness itself, geometrically playing out in multi-dimensions, and then coming into the physical to create a physical match to the original pre-matter fabric or energy that is there. It is a living consciousness structure. So it doesn't just stay the same, it shifts and moves. And it's important, I feel, for someone who stands as a psychic or a spiritual teacher or a seer, a prophet, to explain this if they possibly can, because some psychics will just say, oh, this is what's going to happen. And then when it doesn't happen, they'll say, oh, well, the timeline changed. That's all true, but that doesn't explain what's actually happened. And then you have people who are not activated or aware in that psychic sense themselves that will say, well, what a load of rubbish. All psychics say the same thing. Something happened and then it all didn't happen. And then they just say, oh, well, the timeline changed, to try to cover their tracks because they're really no good. All of that is just a linear interpretation of what is predominantly real. Most psychics are actually genuinely picking up something on some level. Yes, there are frauds who deliberately go out there and pretend to be psychic, but they're few and far between. And there are others who are seeing things that are just an extension of their own mind, and their own mind and body makeup isn't focused or anchored. So what they're seeing is very skewed and not at all in alignment with reality. They're not frauds. They're not deliberately pretending. That they believe what they see. And then there are others, like I said, that will just see the first layer or the false screen. And the false screen could be, you could be looking forward and you could be seeing the energetic of the media, not humanity's consciousness, because humanity's consciousness is linked to the media. So the majority of humanity's consciousness that's not aware is linked to the mainstream media. So if you're going to look forward 6 months and look at the consciousness of humanity that are asleep, based on what they are being told as they are, I'm not talking about 6 months in the future from now, because that's really, really different. But for many hundreds of years, and certainly the last 100 years, when you look forward, you could look at humanity's consciousness that are asleep, following the media, and mistake that for a higher consciousness. So you may say, oh, Mr. B is going to win. You wouldn't be wrong, because the media is presenting that as a factual reality. Therefore, as a psychic, when you see that, you're seeing something correct. And then you may think, oh, that's it. That's reality. I've seen it. But there are other individuals, and admittedly they appear to be more rare, but they are out there and they will be coming out more and more and more, that can tell the difference between the asleep consciousness of humanity, the presentation of the media, the other sides of the media, and then they can look deeper into the convergence and look behind the scenes and take a more 3D. When I say 3D, I'm not meaning the third dimension. I mean, you know, when you go to the cinema and you see a normal 2D film, and then when you see a 3D film, you put on the 3D glasses, everything opens up, and it's like, you know, you can have these little birds tweeting that look like they're right next to you, but they're part of the film. You know what I mean? You've all seen a 3D film. It's like that. It's like when you are looking at a false screen or the first layer, it's very 2D, it's very one-dimensional, if you will, it's very mono. And then when you start looking into the quantum, into the convergence, everything opens up and moves. So that's where I am. That's how I look forward. And I'm going to come back to the whole sort of psychic side of things a bit later on. But what I wanted to explain is convergences with all of these intermingled and superimposed timelines within them. They shift and move depending on the actions taken and the new thought structures of humanity. So prior to the 6th of January, 2 days ago, the convergence was more or less sort of staying the same. Yes, it was living and moving, but it was more or less staying the same. Now, I've been saying all along that with the American competition, Mr. Tea Tree would be the victor and be successful and win this competition. Because in the novel, he is doing he's completed all the courses he needs to complete in order to win the competition. As I said, we're moving into a deeper, heavily coded part of the dialogue within the novel. So up until the 6th of January, everything was kind of sort of staying the same, but wavering. But Mr. Tea Tree was winning the competition, and he was being seated again within the leadership position that he has already had. That was occurring, that was set. When I say set, it was well above 99%. But nothing is set as in 100% until it actually happens. But that's where it was. However, I've been saying for months, I was looking at all of these other probabilities, and I've always said that before the American competition took place on November the 3rd, I said if it even takes place, because what I was seeing was so different and unique to how things have been before in the past, that I was thinking that maybe the American competition wouldn't even go ahead at all. But then a couple of days before the American competition, I did see that there was a flipping from blue presentations, little squares, flipping into red presentations as little squares. Sorry, that's the opposite. They were red. I saw the red pieces of paper, and I saw them all. That's what they were. They'd been created as red. And then as I was watching them, they slowly were being flipped deliberately to blue. And this was a couple of days before the American competition. And then after time, they flipped back to red again. So through all of that, despite what happened in the American competition in the novel, despite all of that, Mr. Tea Tree was still sitting as the leader and as the winner of that competition. Now, since the events of January the 6th in the novel, so we're looking at a parallel reality to Earth because it is an urban fantasy novel. So as we are looking at the events of January the 6th in the novel, this convergence shifted, and it shifted in response to the new situation, the new change. Now, regarding the January 6th event in the novel, there was a cave, and the cave was very secure. And inside the cave, there were gnomes, and it was their job to keep the rocks in place so that the little rabbits and squirrels outside the cave couldn't get in. And they have managed to keep the cave secure for many, many thousands of years. So it's a very sacred cave. But on this particular day, somehow the cave was breached and the rabbits and the squirrels managed to get in. And what had actually happened was two things. Number one, the gnomes inside the cave, some of them were actually, had actually made a agreement with the squirrels and the rabbits to let them in. And the other thing that had occurred is some of the squirrels and rabbits were not real squirrels and rabbits. They were actually chipmunks dressed up as squirrels and rabbits. So that's what's happening in the fantasy novel in this particular chapter. And that is set in on January 6th. So what actually happened there with the squirrels and the rabbits getting into the cave, that changed the timeline. This is what happens. This is nothing, nothing supernatural. Well, it is, but this happens all the time. A big event then shifts everything to come into a place, into a new configuration. Now, that configuration is always an energetic match to the original blueprint. The original blueprint within the convergence that I am looking at and have been ever since I've been speaking to you for the last few months is an inevitability. That inevitability is inevitable. Nothing can change it. It's not going to be changed. It has to occur. It's a pulse that is so organic. It's a pulse from source. It's a source point. It's not possible to change it. And that inevitability is occurring here on Earth. Now, what you can do is shift it, hijack it, bury it. You can try to delay it, but you cannot stop it. So this is what's happening. And that's why the rabbits and the squirrels are in cahoots with the gnomes inside the cave, because the gnomes inside the cave are trying to delay this inevitability from occurring. Let me just check this is still recording. Yeah. So, I hope you're still with me here, because it's a complicated novel. It's probably going to take me the rest of my life to write and beyond. Yeah, so this situation on the 6th of January in the novel shifted the convergence. Now, the convergence has shifted, but it's still in alignment with the original inevitability. The plan of the inevitability, the pulse of the inevitability, is the source blueprint that's going to occur on this planet, and we're right at the crux of it, very, very close to the center. We've been in those central rings of that core convergence point since 2012 and before that, but now we are even closer, and it isn't really about linear time either. It's more of a cyclical time, but anyway, we're very, very close to the core. So this inevitability has to occur. Nothing can stop it from occurring. Now, Mr. Tea Tree, winning the American competition was never an inevitability. As I did say several months ago, if you go back and listen to the original videos that I did then, and that explains that more, that was never an inevitability. The inevitability is the great awakening of humanity and the reclaiming of sovereignty on this planet, within the humans who exist upon this planet, and the shift from the carbon-based molecular structure in the human biology into the crystalline-based molecular structure within human biology, and full ascension. That's the inevitability. And what that looks like on a third dimensional level is the great awakening of humanity, which is the reveal of all that has been kept secret, and the awareness of truth on multiple levels within all systems coming to humanity, and humanity wanting, if you will, answers and some retribution and whatever comes with the awareness of truth and that which has been hidden. So this is all in the novel. It's all in the chapter. So that's the inevitability, and that's inevitable. It can't be stopped. No matter what is playing out on the physical level, it can't be stopped. So this is much, much bigger than the American competition, and it's much, much bigger than Mr. Tea Tree, and Mr. B, Mr. Bumblebee. So we've got Mr. Tea Tree and Mr. Bumblebee, and it is much, much bigger than them. And then we've got Miss Kimelina. She's one of the characters as well. So we've got Mr. Bumblebee, we've got Mr. Tea Tree, and we've got Miss Kimelina. These are sort of the main three characters within the American competition energetic. At this point, there is possibly another character coming in, and his name is Mr. Flinney. Okay, so these are my characters in this novel. Okay, so got my builder banging away out there with his hammer on my fences. It's looking good though. So that's an inevitability, the inevitability of the Great Awakening. All of this other stuff regarding the American competition is a crucial part of the triggering of the inevitability. It's in the core of it, therefore it's in multiple timelines. How it actually plays out in these multiple timelines is slightly different depending on choices that have been made, because every choice, every thought, but actually the action of that thought changes this inevitability, this convergence, sorry, not the inevitability, the convergence changes it. The inevitability stays the same and everything matches the convergence. So Mr. Tea Tree, within all of these timelines, is the winner of the competition in every single timeline. This is why the shift is not a bad thing. It's a very positive thing. But when I say the winner of the competition, you may interpret that as one thing, and it may not be that one thing. it could be that one thing, but it could be something else, because there are multiple ways to win a competition. And what we're actually looking at here is the presentation of Mr. Bumblebee and Miss Kimelina having won the competition, when in truth, Mr. T has won the competition. So we are looking at full screens, presentations coming from media and the consciousness of humanity that follow media. And then we are looking at the consciousness of humanity who are aware and awake, that have a much more powerful, larger consciousness. Even though they're the minority in number, they are the ones that are powering the light into this inevitability and matching themselves to it, even though the inevitability is beyond the human structure and is cosmic and galactic. You are cosmic and galactic, and you are beyond the human structure. So you are that inevitability, if you will. And if you are in alignment with that, with an open heart and with knowing that everything is playing out in the match to that inevitability, which is ascension and the great awakening, the ascension timeline, the paradise timeline, if you are in alignment with that, then you are it, and it has to manifest. That is cosmic law. Nothing can change that. No media story or court hearing can change that. What it can do is present a false screen, but it can't change it. Now, the false screens are themselves hijacking tools, because if you allow yourself to be led by them and taken down by them into these very natural emotional responses of despair, disbelief, anger, frustration, extreme sadness, grief, all of that's normal given the presentation. If you have followed Mr. Tea Tree and have invested your emotions in Mr. Tea Tree, wanting him to win the competition, knowing that him winning the competition is a trigger into remaining free and remaining sovereign and preventing a Armageddon type dictatorial tyranny, if you have been invested in that, and rightly so, that's all correct, when that appears to have not come about and has not manifested, and the more sort of tyrannical aspect, these are the other characters in the novel, by the way, we're still talking about the novel here, then it is quite normal and natural for you to feel shock and horror, disgust, disbelief, grief, and all of those emotions. So please do not beat yourself up if you have felt them. I felt them too, especially going into the courtroom in the novel and looking at all the gnomes and all the rabbits and the squirrels and the ones that were the bad guys in the novel, the baddies, and listening to what they were saying and the way that they were spinning everything, and seeing and feeling so clearly where their thoughts are going, why they're doing what they're doing, and the emotions in their own hearts, which their hearts aren't really there. They're not the same. I mean, gnomes' hearts aren't the same as humans' hearts. But when you empathize with that, the strongest person who's able to hold their energetic is going to be in trouble. And, you know, after watching sort of 5 or 6 speakers and then seeing other speakers that are not part of the baddie gnome structure, but they're the good elves, seeing the good elves have to back down and not say what they were going to say because the squirrels and the rabbits got into the cave. So once the squirrels and the rabbits got into the cave, they no longer said what they were going to say, and to actually see them have to take a step back, the strongest person would struggle. And I was myself, you know, watching all this play out as I wrote my novel. We are discussing a novel here. Everything I'm saying here is fiction. I will remind everybody of that. So as I am watching all this play out in readiness for the chapter of my novel, I found myself slipping into these emotions. And the 9 was saying to me, do not react to the outer reality, react to your inner reality. So I'm trying really hard to react to my inner reality. And then I'm looking at the outer reality, and it's just like, I found it really, really challenging. So trust me, if you have gone into these feelings, please, please don't beat yourself up. It's normal. But I'm here to show you what I see. And I've had long conversations with the 9 during the night, while I've been asleep, while I've been awake, first thing in the morning, last thing at night, really looking deeply into this convergence, the inevitability, the convergence, the match to the convergence. And that's what I'm here to tell you, that I want to tell you what I'm seeing here and what the shift is. So prior to the shift, prior to the 6th of January, we were looking at Mr. T Tree winning the American competition in the novel, and actually standing as the winner in the traditional way that one would see a winner, kind of like, you know, a director or a controller of a company, or a president perhaps. Okay, so that would be the position that Mr. T Tree would take as the winner of the competition. But since the shift on the 6th of January, because the squirrels and the rabbits got into the cave, that shifted the timelines within the convergence. So the convergence shifts like a living geometry. Basically, it's a geometric structure that's just, when I say change shape, you know, it hasn't actually changed shape. It's almost as though a piece of the geometry just shifts itself and the whole structure changes and realigns and falls back into the same pattern, but it's moved and something about it has changed. We are looking here at pre-incarnate matter fabric. It is the pre-matter to an incarnate physical event or person. So it isn't easy to explain it. So that's the best way I can explain it. So since the shift, we now have something different. That doesn't mean that the original presentation has gone. It hasn't gone. So the original presentation is Mr. T Tree winning the American competition in a traditional sense, like a director of a company or a president, perhaps, one of those two, possibly. That's the original configuration, and that is still there, but the probability has lessened. That doesn't mean that the probability of Mr. T Tree winning the competition has lessened. It means the form in which he wins it has lessened, as in being a director or being a president. That has lessened, but him winning it is still way above 99%. It's so close to 100% it's set. So the winning is absolutely without question. Is how does this manifest? So there's something else that needs to come into the story, and I'm sorry if this is a long video, but it's going to take time to explain it. Something else very, very significant and highly important has to be brought into the story here within the novel. And we are looking here at another date, and that is the 21st of December 2020. So in the novel, and the same in the real world, we had a conjunction between Saturn and Jupiter that occurred that day. And that was also the winter solstice where I live, and the summer solstice over the other side of the world. So we had a solstice and a conjunction, a planetary conjunction on that day. And if you go back and see my videos about that day, I'm talking about what that day means and what it signifies, and the fact that this is predominantly presenting the energetic of a bifurcation. So again, I'm going to check. I don't know why I keep checking that this is recording, because this is a brand new laptop, and I've never had any problems with anything going wrong. So just checking, because I wouldn't want to be sitting here chatting away for hours to find that it hasn't actually recorded. So there you go. So we're looking at the energy of bifurcation. Now, the bifurcation energetically was the bifurcation of reality. And eventually we're moving into a trifurcation and a unification, which comes later. Let's just look at the bifurcation for now, which is a split, a planetary split, an energetic split, a dimensional split, a split in consciousness. And that then sets itself throughout reality. And there is a physical reality matched to that. So there are choices to be made. You can make choice A or choice B. Everything is mirroring the bifurcation. The 6th of January and the events that have led to this shift within the convergence occurred after the 21st of December 2020. So it's already in the bifurcation energetic. So everything is manifesting in a bifurcation, in a two-world split, in a polarity split, because we're raising from polarity. So we have to integrate the polarity in order to raise from it. Therefore, we have to see it in order to integrate it. That's what's happening. So what we've got here, and what the 9 have said to me for quite some time, right since before Christmas, and I didn't really understand what they meant. So I'm going to use the word, it means director of a company, it means CEO, it means president, it means top man. Let's just call it top banana, right? So that means all of those things: the CEO, the owner of a company, the president, or the top man. We'll call it the top banana. The top banana we'll go for. So 2 top bananas is what they're saying to me. 2 top bananas, 1 real, 1 not, or you could use the word fake. 2 top bananas, 1 real, 1 fake, for a while. Twin top bananas, twins. So you've got the bifurcations, the manifestation of the American competition, and the result of the American competition has bifurcated. So we do literally have 2 top bananas in different ways. Now, at the moment, today, and I'm recording this on the 8th of January, today, the 8th of January, we have a top banana that is known to the first layer of reality, those who are asleep and those who follow the media. And then we have another top banana that is known to the awake population, the aware, the ascending, the spiritual, the critical thinkers, the truthers, all in the novel, I must keep adding. So I know this is a heavy chapter, but bear with me. And this one is about bananas. So we've got bananas, gnomes, rabbits, squirrels, elves in this amazing fantasy urban novel, this urban fantasy. So it's set in this world, in this reality, the novel. So we have these 2 top bananas, 1 real, 1 fake, 1 fake, 1 real. So that's what the 9 have been telling me since before Christmas. This has manifested now already, and we are in that mode of the bifurcation of the result of the American competition, because it's so significant within the convergence and the inevitability, and it's part of the inevitability and a major catalyst to the inevitability, which the inevitability would occur regardless, but it needs a catalyst from the physical point of view. So we are in the twin top banana phase for a while. Now we're in this phase. It's hard to say exactly till when, because the convergence may shift again. But we're in this phase till around, I would say, the equinox in March. So we're looking at around March 21st. This may even go into Easter, but it's not looking like it's beyond April. What I'm saying here is we are in some form of 2 top bananas, twin top bananas, some form, whatever that may look like. Now, because we have got these bifurcations, and we've got top banana Mr. Bumblebee, and we've got top banana Mr. Tea Tree, there are factions and elements supporting both of these top bananas. So we have a negative structure supporting the top banana Mr. Bumblebee, and we have a positive structure supporting the top banana Mr. Tea Tree. Everything that's I've been talking about in my videos up until this point. So what are the ways this might look like? Well, at the moment, as I've said, we have top banana Mr. Bumblebee, who is, to all intents and purposes, to most of the world, the asleep world, the actual top banana. And Mr. Bumblebee is a very sore loser. He's out. He's been told to get out the back door. He's had the sack. He's got his tail between his legs, and he's off because he's been a very naughty squirrel or whatever, gnome or elf, whatever it is. That's the story. to the sleeping population. And then we've got those that are controlling that narrative and the media that are complicit within that narrative. And they know that it is a false screen, but they're perpetuating the false screen as much as possible because it's very, very crucial to their agenda. Now, the truth of the matter is that Mr. Bumblebee won the competition, and Mr. Bumblebee still stands as the top banana. He's not going anywhere. He hasn't got his tail between his legs. He's not going out the back door. He's not getting the sack. All of that is just fluff and pantomime and for the sleepers, really. And they're, you know, soaking it up hook, line and sinker. You only have to look at the headlines within the tabloids within the world that's set within this novel. If you go into a shop, you might see a newspaper and it will have some horrific headline like off you go, you're fired, that sort of thing. If you were to look at newspapers within my novel, we'll see what that will look like. But what it will look like is a manifestation of the bifurcation that it's standing for. And the bifurcation of the positive with Mr. Tea Tree is behind the scenes. One has to look deeper to see it. One has to be critical in their thinking, psychic, if you will, empathic. One has to look deeper. And even if one can't see what that is, but knows that there's something more than is being shown, then one can go and find others that are talking about this, which is why I'm writing this novel and talking to you about my novel. So what could this look like? So number one, the probability is still there of Mr. Tea Tree being the top banana, literally the top banana, as in putting his hand on the Bible and swearing to be the top banana, okay? So that probability is still there. It's not as high as it was because something else has come into play. Now, I don't want to give too much away about the novel because there might be some of the negative Mr. Bumblebee characters listening to what I'm saying about the novel. So I don't want to give too much away about the plot, but I will say what I can. And when it comes to strategy and a chess game, one has to continuously review the moves. And if the opponent makes a surprising move, or if the opponent makes a move that you half expected, but weren't completely sure that they would make, you have your backup in place and you have an insurance policy, if you will, on hand to enact depending on the move that the opponent makes. But then you may have to retreat for a while and decide, okay, so the opponent has made this move in the chess game. I now can't make that move that I was going to make because I'm now blocked from that move. I now have to come in from another angle. So the shape of the plan coming in from an alliance, good guy, white hat scenario, instead of moving in a head-on horizontal movement, the movement becomes a sideways movement, and it's known in some games as being outflanked. So we are looking at an outflanking taking place. As I said, I'm looking at geometry and shapes and structure and cannot go into the third dimensional literal, and there are other people doing that job. You know, if you follow this whole story, you will already be connected with those people. So continue to listen to those people. I listen to those people as well because I want to know what all of this means when I see all of this energy and the frequencies and the geometric structures and blueprints that I see in an energetic form and that I do my best to interpret. I like to know what it literally means because I don't get the literal, actually, oh, this person went to this country and then they made this deal and they signed this form and blah, blah, blah. I don't get that specifically, as you know. So we're looking at an outflanking, as in the maneuvering. Now, what that is going to do is change the presentation of what winning the competition looks like. So we've still got the top banana, hand on the Bible, top banana. That's still there. But the probability is no longer above 99% of that. It's lowered because it's brought a new probability in. And it's the new probability I'd like to talk to you about. Now, they're both around, I feel we're probably looking at around 60-40. So 60% top banana, hand on the Bible, 40%, or it could even be 45-55. It's pretty close. And the other option, and now this other option is very, very significant, because this option would occur anyway down the line, because it's part of the inevitability. The inevitability shows us a collapse and a restructuring of all systems. This includes the political system. This includes the way competitions take place and how the people decide who wins the competition and who doesn't. So what they have to do is they take a piece of paper and they write on the piece of paper the name of the person they want to win the competition. All of that, the way they choose the winner, the competition itself, the structure itself, all of this is collapsing and restructuring as an inevitability. It's inevitable. It's like, when is that going to happen and how? So that, with Mr. Tea Tree becoming the top banana prior to the 6th of January, then the restructuring of the entire structure was further in the future. Now, because of the 6th of January, it shifted everything. Now, him being the top banana is at 55%, bringing the other possibility, the other presentation of a American competition win into a position of 45%. And that is bringing the collapse of the structure and the restructuring way more forward, which is why I say it's positive, because either of these pathways are positive. So the second pathway is there's no top banana. Now, it might be that the no top banana pathway will actually present the fake top banana for a while. Mr. Bumblebee may be the fake top banana for a while. And we've got other stuff going on there, because the negative presentation and plot and plan is not for Mr. Bumblebee to actually be the top banana. It's for Miss Kimmelina to be the top banana. So we've got that plot going on at the same time as this one, all coming in at the same time. So if we're looking just at the negative plot, we are looking at Mr. Bumblebee becoming the top banana for a very, very short period of time, something happening, taking Mr. Bumblebee out of the top banana position and moving Miss Kimmelina into the top banana position. Now, that may actually occur as a false screen. Now, it may be that it occurs legally as a false screen, while other stuff is going on behind the scenes and the real top banana isn't actually legally the top banana. Or it might be that the top banana of Mr. Bumblebee and then Miss Kimmelina is a false top banana, and the real top banana is actually legally the real top banana is Mr. Tea Tree. These are different playouts, and they're sort of running at around 50-50, and that will depend on what's coming in from the negative side. So we are looking at a chess game, and depending on the opponent's move, the configuration shifts again. But nothing, and I must repeat this because it's so important, nothing changes Mr. Tea Tree from winning the American competition and being the top banana, but it depends how that manifests. There are multiple ways and two main ones, but nothing stops it. Nothing. I mean, it's there and it's continuing for 4 more years or even longer than that. I mean, potentially I'm seeing 6 years, I have to say. That's what I'm seeing. But loads is going on in the meantime, and I won't go that far into the future at this point because it's just not possible to see so many different convergences. I'm just sort of looking at what's happening in our immediate future in the novel. So this other alternative, so taking away whatever the negative move that's made, and let's say the part of the configuration of timelines where Mr. Tea Tree is the actual top banana, let's say that doesn't come into play and it's this other one. Now that might occur simultaneously to Mr. Bumblebee and Miss Kimmelina moving into the top banana position, or it may be instead of. Now the probability of it being instead of is much higher. So we still don't have much change in Mr. Bumblebee being the top banana from months ago. The probability is low of that, and still is low. I'm not saying it's non-existent. It could occur, but it's low, even though the false screen and the first layer and the sleeping population all believe it to be, well, done and dusted, really. I mean, they all believe it. That's it. There's no way it can change. That's absolutely untrue, that it's done and dusted and there's no way it can change, because nothing is set until it happens. And the probability of Mr. Bumblebee being the top banana, followed by Miss Kimmelina being the top banana, is low. It's a higher probability for Miss Kimmelina rather than Mr. Bumblebee. But that's what I said before months ago, that nothing has changed there. What's changed is the chess move that has to be made by the Tea Tree team. So this other potential is where Mr. Tea Tree has still won the competition, and there's no top banana at all. The top banana is gone. And as you know, top banana means CEO, director of a company, a president, someone at the top. There's none of that, none of those things. That's this other probability, which I have always seen as a lesser probability, and it was a much lesser probability, but now it's a bigger probability than it was since January 6th. So what this is a complete restructuring of the system itself, so that it's difficult for me to say what it is, because I don't really understand the system. I don't have the knowledge needed to be able to tell you how this will present, and I couldn't anyway, because it's not a good idea to lay out the chess moves to the opponent in any form. So what's being done here by anyone who is teaching, whether they're a psychic or whether they're getting whistleblower information or whether they're writing a novel like me and just talking about complete fiction, whatever they're doing, it is important to be aware that you still have to fill in some of the blanks yourself, because those moves can't be given away, because that's strategy, until it's safe to do so, until the very last minute. Now, the other thing the Nine have been saying to me, which again, I don't know if I've said this on a video or not, or an interview or a round table, or I know I've said it on social media. And that is that Mr. Tea Tree will present as the winner of the competition, and all of this will occur at the 11th hour. I needed to Google 11th hour because although I know what it means pretty much, I wanted to know exactly what it meant. What's the dictionary definition? And it means at the very last minute, literally at the very last minute. So whatever's going on here with all of these potentials, it happens at the very last minute. But there's something going on behind the scenes hugely. And from now until January 20th, which is when all these bananas pop up, and the gnomes and the rabbits and the squirrels, they're all there on January 20th. From now till then, something is happening every single day, several times a day. Intense, fast-moving energy. Reveal, information popping up here, there, and everywhere. You won't be able to keep up with it. If you're following the true, real story unfold, you won't be able to keep up with the information. Bear in mind that this is also hijacked. They're finding it more difficult to hijack now because the real stuff's there. But please remember to be discerning when you're reading all these novels. Okay, that's really, really crucial. So what they said was the 11th hour. So we're looking at very last minute. I mean, I try not to interpret. Does this mean that literally an hour before, on January the 20th, it's like, stop, you know, hold it, that sort of thing, like at a wedding, you know, does anyone object to this wedding? If so, speak now or forever hold your peace. And there's this deadly silence. And just as the vicar or the you know, the person who's conducting the ceremony is about to pronounce the couple man and wife or whatever, someone says, "May I object?" It's like, you know, is it really going to be that last minute? I don't think that's what the 9 are meaning, but they are saying the 11th hour, so very last minute. I mean, we're kind of pretty close to that now. So this other option, what this looks like is, it is a giving back to the people. It is a round table structure where there are many equal bananas. There's no top banana. There is a lot of equal bananas. And but within that, there will be someone who is more of a conductor of an orchestra rather than a banana. So basically they'd be the fruit bowl rather than the biggest banana in the fruit bowl. It'd be the fruit bowl itself. So Mr. Tea Tree, if this goes ahead, this second no top banana scenario, this is actually a really good, really positive scenario. It's going to come about anyway down the line with potentially Mr. Tea Tree and potentially other people that haven't come forward yet, because they're still in college, they're still in school. It's like way in the future. Some of these people within this roundtable structure are children. Some of them haven't been born. So this is way in the future when this round table structure. Now, this round table structure is going to come about in all systems, but it starts in the political field in the novel. It starts in the political field because that sort of uncovers everything and reveals everything, and it starts this domino effect. I know I've spoken much in metaphor and much in non-literal terms, but that is my role as a teacher. It isn't to show the literal, it's to interpret the energetic. That's my role, and to obviously present to you the potential storyline for my novel. So this is really good. It comes later anyway. It's part of the inevitability. It's just been brought forward a little bit as a possible. Still, the more likely probability is that Mr. Tea Tree is top banana somehow. I mean, how? I don't know. People are asking me, Magenta, how can Mr. Tea Tree possibly be the top banana now? I don't know how it's going to happen. I'm just showing you what I'm seeing. He is absolutely now and then and on January the 20th and beyond and in April and at the end of next year and the year after. He's there in all of it. He is the top banana. But it just depends on how that's interpreted. So if this second one takes place where there's no top banana, and as I said, that might be happening at the same time as a fake top banana coming in from Mr. Bumblebee and Miss Kimmelina, but that's a separate thing. If this other one occurs where there's no top banana at all and this round table happens, that is going to, it's going to be wonderful because it's so full of light and integrity, honesty, justice, but it's going to cause massive reaction. So will the Mr. Tea Tree top banana as well. The reactions are less with Mr. Bumblebee being the top banana for a while, but even that still has a reaction in a different way. All of these moves have repercussions on a linear physical level of some kind. And I think really when you're looking at the chess game, if you are Mr. Tea Tree and or one of his advisors, when you look at the chess game, I think one of the main conundrums really is, how do we make a move that will create the least ripple, that's going to create the least tumultuous situation? They all have a sort of a reaction to them. And we as spiritually aware focused and activated individuals can lend our energy to this as well. We can work spiritually and work with manifestation and prayer and meditation. Absolutely, all of those things. Bearing in mind that the tumultuous and the sort of ripple effects from these potential moves are catalysts to the Great Awakening. So everything that's in alignment with that inevitability is going to occur some way or another. And that's kind of like the birthing pains. And we can't really sit there and say, well, you know, this woman is going to have a baby. How can we best help her to have a baby so she doesn't actually have any contractions or any painful experiences? It doesn't really usually work that way. Sometimes it can, but there's usually some kind of effort involved in some way with the mother giving birth. And it's kind of the same when you're birthing a significant manifestation that's in alignment with an inevitability at the time of planetary completion. So looking again at this other option, and I'm trying to sort of give you as much information as I can, there is a group of individuals within that option, and that group of individuals all have the same name, and the name is Millie Terry. They're all called Millie Terry. So that is involved in that that option. But when I say Millie Terry, it's not that Millie Terry is a sort of a scary Millie Terry. Millie Terry is more of a thinking Millie Terry, more of a intelligent Millie Terry who is able to think and strategize. But all of these people called Millie Terry have got an open heart. And within that structure, there is somebody called Mr. Flinney as well, who has a quite a important role in that structure. Now, it looks as though Mr. Flinney is also in all of these potential probabilities as well. Quite important, not so significant as Mr. Tea Tree, but there in some way. And there are so many branches off from these different presentations, and they could all play out in so many different ways. As I've said, things are happening every day, several times a day, from now until the 20th. And I'm seeing this, this twin top banana energy actually going forward to around the March equinox. So this 20th of January presentation isn't going to suddenly push that away from being twin top bananas into one top banana. There's still a twin energy until around March. That's what I'm seeing at the moment based on the current configuration. So was there anything else I wanted to say with this? Oh yeah, with this bifurcation, everything is mirroring it. So this twin top bananas is just one manifestation of the bifurcation. It's there in everything, and including your own personal life, choices to be made wherever, two thoughts, everything is bifurcated since the 21st of December 2020. So this is also a physical and a linear aspect of the bifurcation. It's polarity, and it can be presented as you know, when the squirrels and the rabbits are against one another and they both sort of crash into each other and get cross with one another, that can be part of the bifurcation and polarity, which is why it's so important for the strategizing of the chess game to take into account the ripple effects that could occur, because we don't want to trigger rabbits and squirrels having a really, really bad cross argument with one another on a large scale. But again, that's a catalyst. The question I've been asking the Nine for a long time is, are the white hats in control? And they've been saying to me for months that they've been not necessarily in control, but they've been holding the fort. They've been making good progress within the chess game, but the opponent has been a worthy opponent, if you will. I am now told that since the 21st of December 2020, when we had the bifurcation, this did move the White Hats into a position of control, most especially with the Christmas surprise that occurred either Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, and now with this new movement with the 6th of January. They are in control, and that what that's done is it's made the opponent go a little bit wild, a little bit crazy, a little bit like really, I mean, they've gone into out of slightly, not completely, because they understand that control is absolutely crucial for their agenda, their mission. But they have just slightly gone out of control because they haven't been in this position before. They're in a position that they've never been in before. No matter how things have got, they've always remained steady and in control. And they've been pushed. And because of the personalities that they have and the fact that they don't have the temperance of the heart, they are going into an out of control situation. Now, if you go and listen to the conference yesterday, the conference of the press variety with the blonde-haired fairy with the wings, who is called Miss Lee Kay. And Miss Lee Kay delivered a very, very short speech. And at the end, the gnomes with the cameras had a reaction. If you listen to that reaction, that will go some way to explaining to you what I'm talking about with this out of control energy that's there across the board within this negative structure. So that is giving the White Hats control, the Mr. Tea Tree team control, because they are in temperance. They are steady, strong, grounded, centered. There's no destabilization or out of alignment frequency going on in those that hold that frequency. I'm not talking about those in the structure that have stepped back through fear or through playing both sides like some. I'm talking about those who are fully in integrity. And those in the negative structure don't have the heart to be able to give them the temperance they need. So they have very good tools for control, but not when they are pushed like this. But they haven't been pushed. They have created a situation where they're being pushed because they have spun such a intensely false screen that it isn't holding. They are the ones that have pushed it too far, if you will. With this "Are White Hats in Control" question, whilst the answer is yes, there are still moves and counter moves going on, and one cannot really say that on a physical level that either side is winning or losing when it comes to the chess game at this point on a physical level. On an energetic level, the White Hat Mr. Tea Tree team have absolutely won and have done for a long, long time. And because that's happened on an energetic level, that will filter into the physical. But it still moves and counter moves at this point. So there are many different ways of looking at this. So if some person says, oh, the White Hats are in control, they've won, and other people saying, well, that's not true, they haven't. They're both right. Depends on the perspective, because we are still looking at moves and counter moves. But there's nothing to worry about, because whether it's a Mr. Tea Tree top banana, or whether it is the second presentation of the round table, or whether it is the fake top banana with the real top banana behind the scenes, the real top banana is still there, making moves that are influencing the collective and the system that is trying to hold itself within this crash down. So all of these other things that are filtering down into the different countries of the world within the novel, there isn't anything to worry about with these if you remain in alignment, if you stay within your guidance. Yes, it looks like, especially here in the UK, in the novel, it's an urban fantasy, in the United Kingdom aspect of the novel, it looks as though the closing in of that structure is so strong it cannot be dealt with. But one can maneuver and stay within guidance, stay within synchronicity. Those who are aware and awake won't need catalysts as much as those who are asleep, as I've said before in other videos. It would only be dire if Mr. Tea Tree was not any kind of banana and was gone, which is what the sleepers think, and which is what the negative structure are trying to do. They know he hasn't gone, so they want him gone. So you're thinking, well, why are they trying to get him to be gone when he's going anyway in a few days? Because they know that he hasn't gone and that he's not going to go. They're aware of that. So that's just not going to change no matter what they do. Even if you see, please do not lose your anchor. The Nine have told me this again and again and again, and I understand how easy it is to do so. Even if you see presented in the media that there is lots of peaches being given to Mr. Tea Tree, bananas and peaches in the fruit bowl. Peaches, yeah. Even if they're talking about peaches, it's not going to make any difference. He's still a banana. So, yeah, fruit. That's the way forward for us all. Bananas and peaches. So, there was another question that keeps coming up. I don't know if this is going to upset some people, but I have to say what I see. I'm being asked about the person known as Junior of the KFJ variety. I don't see this person as a person in this structure at this point, or I mean, I can't see this person in the structure. What I do see is the father, the KFJ, left a legacy, and the energy of that legacy and the legacy is in the structure. I don't see the person. So now that could be for many reasons. A, the person isn't here. B, the person is here but wants to remain hidden. C, the presentation of that person is not to be seen, even by a psychic. So I can't see it. Whatever the reason may be for that, I cannot see it. So a lot of people have asked me, will the junior KFJ come into the picture in a top banana position, or maybe the second banana? I don't see that. If anyone is coming into that position as a second banana, it's Mr. Flinney. I don't see that, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but it's not to be seen by me. It's not there. I don't see the energy of that. The energy of the legacy of the father is there. And also we have energy of other light worker top bananas from the past, especially Hauer of the Eisen variety, who has a great-granddaughter that's friends with me. That person's energy is in this, but not just those two. There's others as well. It's almost as though those that stood for the light, that tried to do this, will be honored in ways they've never been honored before. And these, what are called fathers of the founding variety of light, will also be honored. Now, all of this comes forward from, I'm trying to think of a word for this. I guess I could say it, the Constitution. Okay, so the Constitution is, it's almost as though the Constitution has been held down and has not been given freedom. It's not been given wings to fly. And this is happening. This is happening. It's part of the inevitability. It's happening within all of these movements, whether it's the top banana, Mr. Tea Tree, or whether it's very much in the round table. I mean, it's in the center of the table, but that's there in the future anyway. And no matter how much the negative structure don't want to abolish it, they want to control it and have it present their way. And that's what they've been doing. They've been holding it down, but they haven't quite been able to take it to where they want it to be. And they won't be able to, because these chains are coming off. And so this brings me to the next part of what I wanted to talk about, which was a dream that I had, dream intel that I had, all part of the novel. So this was going back before Christmas, just before Christmas. And I did intend to make a video about the dream the next day, because I knew how important it was. But then I thought, well, it doesn't have to go out immediately, because it wasn't immediate. And I think the time is now for me to talk to you about this dream. I did actually share it on some of my social media. Okay, so this was very, very symbolic. So in this dream, I was in this house, and I knew that I was going to adopt an animal. I was having a pet being brought to me, and my parents were bringing me this pet. And I didn't know what it was. They bought me this pet, and it was a bird. It was a cross between like a hawk and a hawk or an eagle, but it also had something about it like a parrot. My parents were talking to me for a while, and I was there with this bird, and then they left. And the reason why it was like a parrot was because it was colorful, and it sort of shifted color, but it could talk to me. But then I realized it was actually not a traditional bird. It was a shape-shifting bird. It was a young woman. So she was an eagle, hawk, parrot, but she was a young woman. She was a shapeshifter that would shapeshift into a bird. She was very, very sad for many years. She didn't age or anything. She stayed the same. This young girl of about early 20s, but very childlike, but also very wise. And she was very happy that I had adopted her. She told me that I had to name her. So I actually said, funnily enough, I want to name you after my friend, and my friend is Eisenhower of the Laura variety. Okay, so I'm going to name you after Laura. But I didn't name her Laura. I had this name in my mind that was the magical name for Eisenhower of the Laura variety. So, you know, we have the Hour of the Eisen variety energy here. So I named her this magical name that is Laura's magical name. I have actually told Laura about this dream. And she was happy because she said, now I have the energy of you, Magenta Pixie, and of Laura. I have the energy of you both. And in the dream, it was like me and Laura stood for the light workers, the starseeds, all of them, all thousands, millions of them. It's like this shape-shifting girl had the energy of the light workers, and she was so happy. And she was explaining to me why she'd been sad for so long. And she said that her true name was Lady Justice. And she had been in courtrooms for hundreds of years. She had to be in all courtrooms. It's like that was her job as the bird. And it was like the eagle hawk part of the bird. And I know that the eagle is symbolic for the US. So she had been in these courtrooms for hundreds of years. And she stood as Lady Justice, but each time she was part of this court hearing, she got sadder and sadder and sadder because she couldn't do her job, because something in the energy of the courtroom was not in alignment with who she truly was. And she said, now that I hold the energy of the starseeds and the light workers, that you've adopted me, Magenta Pixie, and you've given me the name of Laura, now I can do my job. And she said, the very next court hearing, I will be able to do my job because I have been freed. So that was the end of the dream. So I'm analysing this for ages after I wake up, and I thought, the next big court hearing, justice will be done. She's justice. She's America. She's the starseeds and the light workers. But also I felt that eagle part of her was the Constitution. Now, the reason why I'm speaking so much about America, it's not just America, it's the world. Whatever is happening in America right now is happening to the world. It's so important for everyone to realize that we are not separate countries. We are one planet. We are all America, and this will become literal. That's further down the line in this inevitability. But I am told that the UK will be one of the first that become legally, through some kind of legal shift in the future. It's not yet, it's down the line, but that we become a 51st state of America, if you will, and then slowly the rest of the world steps forward and becomes part of, and we all become America. America becomes Earth. And so this top banana, Mr. T Tree, he is already, and this is what the 9 have told me, and this is in the higher realms, he is already the top banana of the new Earth. So this isn't something that's going to happen. He's already in that position. He's already, what top banana means, I've explained to you what top banana means. He's the top banana of the new Earth already. That's the position he holds in the higher realms. And higher energetic intelligences and consciousnesses, they know this of him. They see this of him. Now, this doesn't mean that he's elevated to a top position, because within New Earth, it's a round table. He's a significant player. And a lot of people misunderstand this and see it as worship and all that. It isn't. That's the wrong energy. No one who's in alignment will worship. What they do is respect and honor and love. That is not worship. Important to say. So this dream, after having this dream, I felt that the next big court situation, she would be there. So justice would be done. And I'm taught again and again and again by the 9 not to interpret, but I did. I thought it was the 6th of January. So when I watched, I expected Lady Justice to be there, the bird to be there, meaning justice will be done. So I really just interpreted things as though those of the light would step forward and say what they wanted to say. And of course, none of that happened. So that's why I went into a bit of confusion afterwards for a while, a few hours, with nothing from the 9. They do this a lot. So I'm feeling awful and sharing what everyone is feeling, despair and horror and disbelief and shock. It was worse than the actual competition itself. And after a few hours, and I'm saying to the 9, why has this happened after everything you have said and after everything you've guided me through and everything you've told me? And they say to me, we had to step back and allow you to feel these emotions so you would understand how many, many others feel. I had to share that awful despair and sense of loss and injustice and, just the horrible feeling of being bullied. That's really what it boils down to. Bullies. That's it. Bullies in a playground, hurting the innocent child in the corner kind of feeling. And they told me I had to experience this, because if I don't experience those feelings and I stay in this high place of knowing and alignment and 5D, I lose my empathy with the people. And I think, why are you also in such a state of despair? Nothing's happened. It's all amazing. Everything is as it should be. That makes me a bit ungrounded, because you have got to look at the reason why people are in despair. And anyone now who's floating in the higher realms of joy right now, because they can see the bigger picture, understand that it doesn't take much to send you into that despair, given the level of holding on to the hijacking that's going on. I won't say hijacking because that's already happened years ago. It's trying to hold on to it and losing it. That's what's happening. and the spin stories that are coming out in the novel, in the chapter within the urban fantasy novel. So it's quite understandable why one would go into those feelings. And I did, because I thought the dream meant that hearing. Clearly it didn't. And I know that there's another hearing of some kind. I don't know what. I know that that dream was telling me something. I felt the real energy of her, the constitution, the female liberty, lady justice, as a child, as a young woman that's finally free and can do her job. There is going to be some kind of hearing in a court type scenario. I don't know where or when, but justice will be done for the first time in hundreds of years, and we are going to witness it. I don't have any more information about that as to what it is, when it is. It does involve Mr. Tea Tree. That's all I know. But justice will be done, basically. So the last thing, oh yes, the speech in the novel that the main character, Mr. Tea Tree, gives on the 7th of January presents a acquiescing to the sleepers, is spun into a defeat by the controllers. And yet, if you actually listen to the speech, it is neither of those things. And I actually wrote a status, which I will read to you. So this is part of the novel. This is about the use of not so much the wording that is being said, but things that are not being said or being left out is all I will say. And so if I can just find that. So this is what I wrote, and I'm going to code this because it's all for the novel. Looking forward to a peaceful transition for the US to a new administration, in inverted commas, secure in the knowing that our incredible journey is just beginning, in inverted commas. All eyes on America. What happens in America affects the rest of the world. So that was the status. It's all to do with the novel. So if you listen again to that speech from the character in the novel, new administration. So don't just look at what that means, what you think it means, and what it has meant for many years. Look at what it could mean, given everything that I have just said to you. So I will leave that one, because I know many aware individuals absolutely go with that. But there are others that have been confused and have also seen that as acquiescing or leaving, ending, saying goodbye, etc. But if you look at what I've said, then that speech from that character in the novel makes great sense. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and I was talking earlier about psychics and how psychics predict. So this was the status I wrote this morning. Psychic predictions regarding the US competition were useful only as guidance or a benchmark, unless they went deep into the fractal convoluted convergence field. For it was never a black and white yes or no answer. We are in multidimensionality as we bridge the 4th dimension into the 5th, and nothing is therefore as it seems. Any psychic prediction saying Mr. T would win were both correct and incorrect. Any psychic prediction saying Mr. Bumblebee would win were both correct and incorrect, depending on perspective. Twin presidents, one real, one false, bifurcation in physicality. The question is, which is real and which is false? Multidimensional quantum viewing of the probability fields is the only way to access the answer to this question. So what I'm saying here is, any psychic who months ago looked at this and said Mr. B will win, they were right. They were also wrong. And anyone who said Mr. T is going to win, they were right. They were also wrong. And if I go further into that, anyone who said Mr. Bumblebee will win, they were right because of the media consciousness. They were wrong regarding the true consciousness. Anyone who said Mr. Tea Tree would win, they were right because of the true consciousness. And they were wrong because of how things have played out based on the media consciousness, the false screen. So no psychic can be classed as getting it wrong. What they can be seen as is someone who looks at the false screen consciousness, the media consciousness, the consciousness of the sleeper, that which is presented to reality as the first layer. Those psychics are useful. Often they'll be tarot readers, nothing wrong with tarot. And some tarot readers are extremely multidimensional. So I'm not being specific, I'm generalizing here. But many tarot readers will just see the surface probability because they're reading from one card, and one card as one meaning or several meanings. Someone who's a tarot reader within a convergence multidimensionality, every card would have a completely different meaning with every single reading, and they would be very different kinds of tarot readers. But they do exist, absolutely. But anyway, the point is, all of these different psychics are useful. And that's why I said any prediction's useful only as a guidance or a benchmark, because which reality are they seeing? Unless they went deep into the fractal convoluted convergence field, which is to look at all of these, look at the false screen, look at the true screen, look at the different probabilities, look at the convergence, look at the fractality, look at the way things change. So when you are looking at a psychic, a channel, an intuitive, a spiritual teacher, a prophet, be aware of the multidimensionality of reality that goes beyond the first few layers, because even that can present as multidimensional. It goes deeper and deeper and deeper. So I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to discuss actually in this video. And just to say again, that regardless of how this manifests, Mr. Tea Tree is the top banana of Earth and of New Earth. In the higher realms, he's recognized that way. That has to manifest, and it will do. How? There are all these different options, and it's a win-win situation because it happens regardless. None of these presentations take us away from the Paradise timeline into an Armageddon timeline and an order of the world of the new variety. It looks like that. As I've been saying for months, it looks like that, but it isn't that. So I hope that that has helped sharing my perspective here, sharing with you my thoughts about this urban fantasy fiction novel that I am writing with all your help. Set, of course, in New Earth. So yes, that's everything I wanted to say. So I would just like to say to you, thank you very much for listening. And I will be back with more videos. Take care. Love to you all. Bye.